In today's reading, we will continue with the next chapter, that is world climate. In that, first subtopic is atmospheric composition. First question is assertion reason. Nitrogen and oxygen are the main components of the atmosphere by volume. Together, these two gases make up approximately 99% of the dry atmosphere, right? In both of these gases have very important associations with life. Reason is also right, and reason is the correct explanation of assertion. Cold polar areas and subtropical continental deserts are locations where the volume of water vapor can approach 0%. Next assertion region. Carbon dioxide is an important greenhouse gas, right? The human caused increase in its concentration in the atmosphere has strengthened the greenhouse effect and has definitely contributed to global warming over the last 100 years. This is also true, but this is not the correct explanation of assertion. Which of the following statement is or are correct about troposphere? The depth of this layer varies from about 8 to 16 kilometers, right? Greatest depths occur at the tropics where warm temperatures causes vertical expansion of the lower atmosphere. True, from the tropics to the Earth's polar region, the troposphere becomes gradually thinner. This is also true. All of them are the right options. Which of the following statement is or are correct about troposphere? Average depth of the troposphere is approximately 11 kilometers, right? About 80% of the total mass of the atmosphere is contained in troposphere. True. It is also the layer where the majority of our weather exists. This is also right. All of them are the correct options of the regarding troposphere. Which type of layer extends from an average altitude of 11 to 50 kilometers above the Earth's surface, that is stratosphere? Which of the following statement is or are correct about stratosphere? This layer extends from an average altitude of 11 to 50 kilometers above the Earth's surface. The stratosphere contains about 19.9% of the total mass found in the atmosphere. Very little weather occurs in the stratosphere. All of them are the right options. Which of the following statements is or are correct? The lower portion of the stratosphere is also influenced by the polar jet stream and subtropical jet stream, right? In the first 9 kilometers of the stratosphere, temperature remains constant with height. True. The higher temperatures found in this region of stratosphere occurs because of the localized concentration of ozone gas molecules. All of them are true. Separating the mesosphere from the stratosphere is transition zone called stratopause. In the mesosphere, the atmosphere reaches its coldest temperatures about 90 degrees Celsius at a height of approximately 50 kilometers. At the top of the mesosphere is another transition zone known as mesopause. The last atmospheric layer has an altitude greater than 80 kilometers and is called mesopause. Show the following layer of the atmosphere has electricity conducting layers which make a short-wave radio transmission possible long distances, that is ionosphere. The layer of Earth's atmosphere that is directly above the stratosphere and directly below the thermosphere is called mesosphere. Which of the following statements is or are correct? The mesosphere is located about 50 to 85 kilometers, that is 30 to 50 miles above the Earth's surface. True. The stratosphere and mesosphere are referred to as the middle atmospheres. Right. The mesopause at an altitude of 80 to 90 kilometers separates the mesosphere from the thermosphere. Right. All of them are true. Next, assertion and reason. With the mesosphere, temperature decreases with increasing altitude, right? This is due to decreasing solar heating and increasing cooling of carbon dioxide radiative emission, right? And reason is the correct explanation of assertion also. Next assertion reason. The top of the mesosphere called the mesopause is the coldest place on Earth. True. Temperatures in the upper mesosphere fall at fall as low as minus 100 degrees Celsius, varying according to latitude season, right? And reason is the correct explanation of assertion. Which of the following statements is or are true? The mesosphere lies above the maximum altitude for aircraft and below the minimum altitude for orbital spacecraft, right? It has only been accessed through the use of sounding rockets, right? It is the most poorly understood part of the atmosphere. This is also all of them are right options. Next is the assertion reason. Noctilucent clouds are located in the mesosphere, right? The mesosphere is also the region of the ionosphere known as the D layer. This is also true, but this is not the correct explanation of assertion. Next assertion reason. Because of the sun's UV radiation, Earth's upper atmosphere is partly ionized plasma at altitudes of 70 to 1500 kilometers, right? This region, which is ionosphere, is coupled to both the magnetosphere and the neutral atmosphere. This is also true, but reason is not the correct explanation of assertion. Which of the following statements is or are correct? The main gases within the Earth's exosphere are the lightest gases, mainly hydrogen, with some helium, carbon dioxide, and atomic oxygen near the exobase. True. The exosphere is the last layer before space. True. Since there is no clear boundary with space and the exosphere is sometimes used synonymously with outer space. This is also true. All of them are correct. Which of the following is the measure of solar radiation energy received on a given surface area in a given time? That is insolation. Which of the following is quantified as the proportion or percentage of solar radiation of all wavelengths reflected by a body or surface to the amount incident upon it? That is albedo. The average amount of energy received on a surface perpendicular to incoming radiation at the top of the atmosphere is called as solar radiation. Next is the matching. List one are the surfaces and list two are the albedos. Dry sand, which is 35 to 45%. Broadleaf deciduous forest, that is 5 to 10%. Needle-leaf coniferous forest, that is 10 to 20%. Grass-type vegetation, that is 15 to 25%. Next is the assertion and reason. The ozone layer is a region of concentration of the ozone molecules in the Earth's atmosphere. The layer sits at an altitude of about 10 to 50 kilometers with a maximum concentration in the stratosphere at an altitude of approximately 25 kilometers. True. In recent years, scientists have measured a seasonal thinning of the ozone layer primarily at the South Pole. This phenomenon is being called as the ozone hole. This is also true, but this is not the explanation of the assertion. A severe decrease in the concentration of ozone in the ozone layer could lead to the following harmful effects. A large increase in the cataracts and sunburning, true. Adverse impact on crops and animals, right. Cooling of the Earth's stratosphere and possibly some surface climatic effect. All of these are the right options. Greenhouse gases are gases that can absorb the thermal energy emitted by the Earth, creating the greenhouse effect, which warms the Earth. Liquid water can store more heat energy than an equal amount of any other naturally occurring substance because liquid water has the higher specific heat. A map view of surface air movement in a low pressure system is shown below. The air near the center of this low pressure system usually will rise and form clouds. Which one of these lists of climatic zones is in the correct order of latitude? Those are equatorial, then deserts, then Mediterranean, then tundra. Which of the following is not used to measure the weather? That is thermometer. Other than this, altimeter, anemometer, and barometer are used to measure the weather. Mention the comments that what are the specific uses of thermometer, altimeter, and barometer and anemometer. Mention those in the comments so that others also can know what are the use of these. The following statements are associated with precipitation, which is incorrect. Air is saturated at dew point. This is right. Precipitation is any moisture that falls from clouds. This is also right. Relief rainfall only occurs in the summer. This is also right. Convectional rainfall only occurs in the summer months in the UK. No, this is false. Which one of the following is not included in Earth's climatic system? That is solar sphere. Which one of the following is not a significant natural cause of climate change? That is erosion of the land. Volcanic activity, plate tectonics, and solar variability. These are the significant natural causes, but erosion of the land is not the natural cause. For the climate change, the chemically inactive gas present in the atmosphere is argon. This is inactive. Nitrogen, water vapor, and oxygen are active ones. Along with carbon dioxide, dash is largely responsible for the greenhouse effect of the atmosphere, that is water vapor. When determining climate change, oxygen isotope measurements are made from an analysis of glacial ice. The primary effect on climate of a volcanic eruption depends on the quantity of lava produced, no, how hot the eruptive products are, no, the amount of water vapor produced, no, none of these. Which of the following is a possible consequence of a greenhouse warming, that is, alteration of the world's resources, right? New weather patterns, right? A rise in sea level. All of these are the consequences. The slow wobbling of Earth as it spins on its axis is called precession. Which one of the following is a significant contributor to increased levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide, that is, deforestation? Which of the following is associated with the astronomical theory of climate change? Obliquity of Earth's axis, right? Precession of Earth's axis, right? Eccentricity of Earth's orbit. All of them are associated with the astronomical theory of climate change. The combustion of coal and oil is a major source of which greenhouse gas? That is methane, no. Nitrogen oxide, no. Chlorofluorocarbons, no. None of these. The climate in the northeastern part of Eastern Europe is generally colder than the climate to the land to the north. Next, assertion and reason. Out in the space, the sky looks dark and black instead of blue. True. There is no atmosphere, right? And this is the correct explanation of assertion. Next, assertion and reason. The blue color of the sky is due to red light scattering, right? As light moves through the atmosphere, most of the longer wavelengths pass straight through. This is also right, but this is not the correct explanation of assertion. How many colors are found in the rainbow? Mention those. If at all a white light falls on the prism, how many colors emits? That also mentioned in the comments. And which of these colors will have the highest wavelengths and the highest frequencies? Mention those also in the comments. Which of the following statements about troposphere is or are true? It extends from ground level up to about 16 kilometers at the equator and to 9 kilometers at the north and south poles, right? Changing conditions in the troposphere results in our weather, right? Temperature decreases with increasing altitude and contains more air molecules than all the other layers combined. This is also right. All of them are the right statements about the troposphere. Which of the following statements about stratosphere is are true? Okay. It extends out to about 50 kilometers, right? The bottom of this layer is calm. Jet planes often fly in the lower stratosphere to avoid bad weather in the troposphere. True. The upper part of the troposphere holds the high winds known as the jet streams. These blow horizontally at speeds up to 480 kilometers per hour. This is also true. All of them are the right statements about the stratosphere. Next is assertion and reason. Although the concentration of ozone is at most at most 12 parts per million, that is ppm, it is very effective at absorbing the harmful UV rays of the sun and protecting life on Earth. True. Ozone is the molecule made of three oxygen atoms. The ozone molecule we need to breathe contains two oxygen molecules. Right. But reason is not the right explanation of assertion. Next one. In stratosphere, the temperature increases with altitude results in a layering effect. True. It, it creates a global inversion layer and reduces vertical convection. This is also true, but this is not the right explanation for assertion. Which of the following pairs is wrongly matched? Okay, mesosphere extends out to about 100 kilometers true. Thermosphere extends out about to 400 kilometers true. Exosphere extends beyond the thermosphere hundreds of kilometers true. Stratosphere extends up to 500 kilometers. No, this is false. Which of the following statements about thermosphere is or are true? Okay, we have seen here about troposphere and stratosphere. Now we are looking into the thermosphere. Extends up to 400 kilometers, right? Temperature increases rapidly with increasing altitude due to the absorption of extremely short wavelength UV radiation. True. Meteors or shooting stars start to burn up around 110 to 130 kilometers above the Earth. This is also right. All of them are the right options for thermosphere. Next assertion and reason. Exosphere extends beyond the thermosphere hundreds of kilometers, gradually fading into interstellar space. Right. Molecules often escape into space after colliding with one another. This is also right, but this is not right explanation for assertion. The difference in temperature between the warm black side and the cooler white side causes gases to creep along the surface of the veins. This effect is known as thermal creep. The transfer of energy through matter from a particle to particle is known as conduction. Next assertion and reason. The warmer portions of the water are less dense and therefore they rise. True. The cooler portions of the water fall because they are denser. This is also right, but this is not right explanation for assertion. Which of the following can be defined as vertical circulation that results from differences in intensity ultimately brought about by differences in temperature, and it involves the transfer of heat through the motion of hot fluid from one place to another, that is convection. Next assertion and reason. The proximity to the equator affects the climate of the place, right? The equator receives the more sunlight than anywhere else on Earth. This is also right. This is also the correct explanation for assertion. The most important factors that affect climate around the world are distance from the sea, true, direction of prevailing winds, right, and proximity to the equator. All of them are the effects for the climate around the world. The altitude of a place affects its climate. The higher a place is above sea level, the cooler is its temperature. Next assertion and reason. The elevation increases. The amount of space between air particles increases, causing less ability to transfer heat to the ground. The higher the elevation, the cooler the climate. Assertion is true and the reason is also true. This is the right explanation for assertion also. The long-term state of the atmosphere is a function of a variety of interacting elements. They are solar radiation, pressure systems, and topography. All of them are the functions of varieties. Which of the following is probably the most important element of the climate? That is solar radiation. Unequal heating of the Earth's surface creates pressure gradients that result in wind. Next assertion and reason. Solar radiation first and foremost heats the Earth's surface, which in turn determines the temperature of the air above. True. Heating of the air determines its stability which affects cloud development and precipitation. This is also true, and this is not the correct explanation for assertion. Air masses as an element of climate subsumes the characteristic of temperature, humidity, and stability. The stormy climate of the mid-latitudes is a product of lying in the boundary zone of greatly contrasting air masses called as polar front. Next, assertion and reason. The climate of Asia is impacted by the annual fluctuation of wind direction due to the monsoon. True. Pressure dominance also affects the receipt of solar radiation. This is also true, but this is not the right explanation for assertion. Those climates bordering cold currents tend to be drier as the cold ocean water helps stabilize the air and inhibit both of these, which are cloud formation and precipitation. The orientation of mountains to the prevailing wind affects precipitation. Next assertion and reason. Windward slopes, those facing into the wind, experience more precipitation due to the orographic uplift of the air. True. Leeward side of mountains are in the rain shadow and thus receive less precipitation. This is also true. But these are both statements are different, so this is not the correct explanation for recession. The gas having the highest proportion in air is nitrogen. The sky appears blue because short waves are scattered more than long waves by the atmosphere. Which of the following is not a greenhouse gas? That is argon. Other than this CO2, nitrous oxide, and methane, these are all the greenhouse gases. The blueness of the sky is mainly due to scattering of sunlight by air molecules. Warming in the Earth's stratosphere is mainly caused by absorption of solar radiation by ozone. Water vapor is turned into water droplets by the process of condensation. Perpendicular rays are usually more heating than oblique rays. It can therefore be said that winter is latitude 35 degrees south is colder than winter in latitude 35 degrees north. Winter in latitude 35 degrees south is colder than the winter in latitude 35 degrees north. This is not east, this is in the portion of the atmosphere which extends from the Earth's surface up to 6 to 8 miles and experiences decrease in temperature at constant rate is troposphere, which is the chief characteristics of wet and dry tropics, that is constant heating. Consider the following statements regarding lapse rate. An unsaturated air mass cools at dry adiabatic lapse rate when it rises in the atmosphere. True. The dry adiabatic lapse rate amounts to 1 degree Celsius to 100 meters. This is true. The wet adiabatic lapse rate may vary between 0.4 degrees Celsius and 0.9 degrees Celsius per 100 meters. This is also true. Dry adiabatic lapse rate is higher because of the release of latent heat of condensation. This is false. 1 to 3 are the correct statements. Consider the following statements and which of the above statements is correct. Okay. In the high latitudes, east coast regions are warmer than the west coast. No. Precipitation is abundant on the windward slopes but sparse on the leeward slopes. True. In the subtropics, west coasts are wetter than the east coast. False. Precipitation is abundant in the middle latitudes. This is also false. Only second statement is the right statement. Identify the correct sequence of the given processes regarding rainfall. Unsaturated air, dew point, condensation, then precipitation. Next, assertion and reason. In Western Europe, rainfall decreases from the coastal areas towards the interior. True, most of the Western Europe lies in the westerly belt. This is also true, and reason is the correct explanation for assertion. Consider the following statements. Ozone is found mostly in the stratosphere. True. Ozone layer lies 55 to 75 kilometers above the surface of the Earth zone. No. Ozone absorbs UV radiation from the sun. Right. Ozone layer has no significance for the life on the Earth. False. Consider the following statements. Which of the statements is are correct? Nearly 99% of the total mass of the atmosphere lies within 30 kilometers of the Earth's surface. Right. The proportion of ozone in the atmosphere increases to the maximum at about 60 kilometers from Earth's surface. This is false. In the absence of ozone layer, which rays will enter into the atmosphere? Those are UV rays. The ozone layer in the upper part of the atmosphere protects us from UV rays. Land masses gets heated more quickly than the oceans, mainly because the specific heat of land is much lesser than that of water. In which atmospheric layer is the ozone layer situated? The stratosphere. When is fog formed? It is formed when various water droplets remain suspended in the air. Match the list 1 with the list 2. Ozone hole, acceleration of ozone destruction, greenhouse, difference in the outgoing and incoming long wave, global warming, increase in the carbon dioxide level, albedo, ratio of reflected radiation to radiation received. In the case of saturated air, the column of air tends to be in stable equilibrium when the prevailing lapse rate is more than the wet adiabatic lapse rate. Next assertion reason. The moist adiabatic lapse rate is lower than the dry adiabatic lapse rate. True. When condensation begins, the latent heat of condensation is released in the parcel of air. This is also right, and this is the correct explanation for assertion. Most of the weather phenomenon takes place at troposphere only because it contains almost all the water vapor and most dust particles. The atmospheric layer which reflects radio waves is ionosphere. Atmosphere gets heated up at midday. The most important component of the atmosphere which caused many weather phenomena is water vapor. Evaporation is the result of gain of heat. The composition of the atmosphere remains relatively constant in the lower layers. What is convection? It is the process that involves the transfer of heat through the movement of air and water molecules. What is kinetic energy? It is the energy of motion. What is latent energy? It is the hidden energy or invisible energy. Summer season occurs on account of horizontal rays of the sun. Generally, the atmosphere gets saturated owing to cooling of air. What is radiation? It is process transferring all solar energy to the earth and space. No. It is the process transferring all lunar energy to the earth space. No. It is the process that generates heat in the atmosphere. See also false. Mention the correct definition of radiation in the comments. Conduction is a process that conducts heat from warmer to the cooler region until the two objects coming into contact get the same temperature. Next assertion reason. Only a minute portion of solar radiation is intercepted by the Earth. True. Other planets are obstructing the path of the sun's rays. No, false. Weather is mobile. Atmosphere is one of the following. It is the mixture of gases. Next assertion reason. The composition of the lowest layer of the atmosphere remains relatively constant. True. There is intensive mixing circulation in the lower layers of the atmosphere. Reason is also true and reason is the correct explanation for assertion. Rotation of the Earth causes deflection of the wind by Coriolis force. Generally, over most parts of the Earth, rainfall occurs commonly during summer. The tropopause occurs at the equator at a height of 17 kilometers. 97% of the atmosphere lies within 5 kilometers of the surface of the Earth. The lower layer of ionosphere is known as thermosphere. The windward slopes of coastal mountains, which are at right angles to wind blowing from the sea, are wetter than the leeward slopes. This is because the winds have to rise to cross them. Which one of the following statements related to both land and the sea breezes are true? Air generally moves from a cooler region to the warmer region. All of these statements are true about anticyclones in general, but only one is true of anticyclone in the southern hemisphere. Which is the statement? He asked about the true statement of anticyclone in the southern hemisphere, right? Okay. The air moves in an anti-clockwise direction. The land on the leeward sides of mountain ranges, which are at right angles to one shore winds, is often dry. This is because the air on the leeward side is cool and is therefore relatively dry. The seasonal rainfall pattern of Greece. The seasonal rain sorry. The seasonal rainfall pattern of India is caused by the tropical location of India. Equatorial lowland usually experience heavy thunder rain in the afternoon. A line on a map which joins places having the same rainfall is called as isoheight. Weather elements can be measured by instruments. Which one of the following pairs is incorrect? Maximum and minimum temperature, 6 thermometer, atmospheric pressure, barometer, wind direction, wind vane, wind speed, anemometer, wrong. What is the instrument that measures the wind speed? Mention that in the comments. A Stevenson screen is usually used in all of the following except rain gauge. It used in maximum thermometer, wet and dry bulb thermometer, and minimum thermometer. In what order do the processes of saturation, evaporation, and condensation take place during formation of clouds? Evaporation, condensation, and saturation. This is the correct process. There are three distinct characters of temperature stratification of atmosphere around the Earth. Which one among the following is the correct arrangement of the layers? There is troposphere, stratosphere, and thermosphere. The velocity of wind is recorded by anemometer. Horse latitudes lie in the vicinity of 30-degree latitude both north and south of the equator. Which one of the following is not an element of weather, that is height above sea level? Other than this, sunshine, cloud cover, and fog, these are the elements of the weather, but this is not the element of the weather. The Kyoto Convention identified six greenhouse gases. Apart from apart from carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, which of the following does not constitute the other three, that is hexachloride? COP4 denotes the fourth conference on climate change, which was held in Buenos. Which edition recently conducted by Conference of Parties? Mention that in the comments and mention the venue of that conference also. Okay. What is the name of the scale meant for recording weather condition? That is Fahrenheit. Scale used for recording weather conditions is known as centigrade. Which of the following components of the atmosphere has increased during the last 200 years? That is carbon dioxide. Consider the following diagram. Okay, in the diagram given above, what does A denote? This is the North Pole and this is the horse latitude. A denotes the doldrums and this is the polar high pressure belts and this is the South Pole. So A is called as the doldrums. Ozone holes are more pronounced at the poles. Arrange the constituent gases of the atmosphere in descending order of their percentage to the total composition of the atmosphere. Nitrogen has the highest percentage, then oxygen, then carbon dioxide, then argon. Which one of the following provides the force needed to drive the atmospheric circulation? That is, the energy contracts between high insolation tropical latitudes and the low insolation polar latitudes. The atmospheric layer closest to the Earth is troposphere. The majority of the ozone, about 97%, in the atmosphere is concentrated in the stratosphere at an altitude of 15 to 55 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Although fog consists of a fine drops of water, we cannot see clearly through it because the drops scatter more of the light. Most of the light. Which one of the four regions above Earth has smallest height? That is troposphere. Ozone layer in the outer atmosphere helps us in absorbing UV radiations. Variations in duration of day and night are caused primarily because the axis of the Earth is inclined. Troposphere is the hottest part of the atmosphere because it is heated by Earth's surface. We receive sunlight on Earth's surface. What type of light beams are these? These are diverging beams. Atmosphere gets heated up at midday. The lowest layer of the atmosphere is troposphere. Which of the following statements regarding ozone layer within the atmosphere is or are correct? It absorbs most of the UV radiation found in the sun's rays. Chlorofluorocarbons are serious threat to the ozone layer. Both of them are the correct answers for the uh, ozone layer, which are regarding ozone layer. The lowest layer ionosphere is known as thermosphere. The ocean of storms is the name given to a waterless area on moon surface. Which one of the following zones of the atmosphere is rich in ozone gas? That is stratosphere. Television signal cannot be received generally beyond a particular distance due to curvature of the Earth. Most of the phenomena related to weather takes place in troposphere. Nights are cooler in the deserts than in the plains because sand radiates more quickly than the Earth. The ozone layer in the upper part of the atmosphere protects us from UV rays. A layer in the Earth's atmosphere called ionosphere facilitates radio communication. Why? The presence of ozone causes the reflection of radio waves to Earth. No, false. Radio waves have a very long wavelength. No, wrong. Which waves have the longest wavelength? Mention that in the comments. The jet aircrafts fly very quickly and smoothly in the lower stratosphere. What could be the appropriate explanation? There are no clouds or water vapor in the lower stratosphere. True. There are no vertical winds in the lower stratosphere. Yes, true. Both of them are the right options. The stratosphere is said to be ideal for flying jet aircraft. This is because of the absence of the clouds and other weather phenomena. Let's stop over here. In our next reading video, we will check the next subtopic, that is temperature. If at all you like the content, like, share and subscribe to my channel. Share with your peer friends. Okay, bye.